Hey everyone, Torno here. I thought I'd do a video this week focusing on a quick review of The Fork, the Witch and the Worm. I bought it a couple of days ago and I just sort of swam through it so quickly. So I thought I'd sort of mix it up with a review of The Fork, the Witch and the Worm, and I would talk about the original sort of Inheritance series. So, for the Inheritance cycle, there were so many things that were wrong, but I did love the series. So before I go through The Fork, the Witch and the Worm, I'm going to go through the things that I absolutely loved about the Inheritance series. Romance. So a lot of YA series now, they do romance in a way that by the first arc of the first novel, the two characters are together, or at least by halfway through the first novel. And that's okay, that's great. If people love that, that's fantastic. But I personally am someone who likes, if I'm reading a fantasy novel, I like the romance to sort of stand in the background a little bit. I love it to be there, and I want it there, but I just don't want it to be the forefront of everything that this novel is about. And some people don't like that, that's fine. Basically what I love is the slow burning romance, which is where the romance takes a while to get to the point where they're actually like together, or whatever someone considers the point where it has come to the end. And what happened in Eragon was that by the end of the first book, they barely know each other. By the end of the fourth book, there's only really, like the end of the series, they're only really just starting to build some sort of romance. And even then, it seems it's a quiet romance. It's subtle, and it's not in your face kind of thing. And that's what made the subtle aspects of this romance so enjoyable. So I thought that instead of telling you everything about their romance, I would just show you. Because showing, after all, is better than telling. Arya, I saw that you fight pretty good. I mean, not as good as me, but you're pretty good. Yes, I can actually fight much better than you. My elven reflexes are faster, I'm stronger, and I'm just in every way, aspect, and form better than you. It's not your fault. Your tiny human brain couldn't comprehend or keep up with me. Oh my god. You think I'm smart? My back is hurt from a magical curse from the Shade Durza. I don't know if I'll ever be the same again. I am a cripple. A broken man. Yes, well, I was kept in a cell for months on end while endlessly tortured. I lost everything about me. I often forget who I am and what my name is. I have very minor back pain. You smell of pine cones. Yes, it's an ancient elven. It's not that big of a deal, Eragon. I can find you some pine cones. I think I love you. You do not love me, Eragon. You love the delusional perfect girl you have created in your head. I am but a shadow of her. A broken person. Tortured by the dark Shade Durza. Here. I made this portrait for you. I don't know if you'll like it, but... You lost your mind? This is disgraceful. Do you know who I am? I am Princess Arya of Elismira. And I will not submit to your pelvic sorcery, Ryder. And you are but a child to me. Not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Really sorry about the painting. Please, can we be friends now? Very well, but no more ghastly painting. Asking for a friend, but how do you feel about sketches? Okay, I suppose. I must save him. But, Princess, your duties as... I'm already running. I can't hear you. I have to leave again, Arya, to resume my training as Dragon Rider. I have to leave again for my training. That's what you sound like. Would you like to come into my tent to discuss the Varden's issues? I will not discuss the Varden's issues with you, but I will get drunk as hell and high and spill all of my emotional tea all over you. You wish to know more about me? Here's my true name.
Renas color granocel minuto, ombicus urbado gondomissum.
I'm sorry, Eragon. I must stay as queen, even though it makes literally no sense at all. But it will be helpful when we have a romantic comeback in Book 5, which will be released in 2030. The second thing that I loved about this series was Eragon's vegetarian dilemma. Now, this was something that I have not seen very much in fantasy, people dealing with the issue of animal rights and all that sort of thing. And I loved the way that it was done in Eragon, that Eragon was he was forced to understand empathy, because as he was learning his magic, there was a scene, I think in the second book, where he had to basically open his mind to all the things that were around him. And when he did that, he understood the pain that every living thing felt. And he understood it was kind of like a sort of the force, the balance between things. And after that, he sort of pledged that he wouldn't eat any more meat. Guys, I'm going to go vegetarian, even though I'm probably going to quit in like half a book. Okay, the last thing I'm going to say is the dragons in the inheritance cycle really rocked, okay? Saphira was an awesome character, and in the books, she was just as significant as Eragon was. Later on, we even got point of view chapters from Saphira's point of view, which seeing through the lens of a dragon's point of view was pretty amazing, and I thought was quite original too. I also loved how they kind of balanced off each other. Eragon and Saphira had quite different personalities, so it was great. It wasn't just like a sounding board. But sometimes their dialogue could be used like that, but it was really interesting to see Saphira's point of view on certain things. So I could go through all the things that I think are also awful with this series, but I don't see much point in that because I feel like that's been done before, and I feel like if I had to do that, I would have to make a whole separate video. Eragon's had his story. He's become a dragon rider. He's matured with Saphira. He's had 2 mentors die. He's defeated Murtagh, his half-brother. He's defeated the Razak, and eventually he defeats the evil king Galbatorix. He's fallen for an elven princess, and she later becomes queen while he becomes the leader of the dragon riders. God, this sounds familiar. Can't imagine why though. Anyway, all that's done, and then we start with the Fork, the Witch, and the Worm. That is where this story starts. It is a series of short stories, 3 different stories: the Fork, the Witch, and the Worm. The first story follows Eragon. Basically, he is struggling with his new role as leader of the Dragon Riders, and he seeks counsel from the Elder Dragons, which are these like Heart of Hearts. They call them Eldenari. Okay? Basically, they show him what's happening in Alagasia at the time, and they show him from the point of view of a little girl named Essie. And she is a little girl who basically, her parents run a tavern, and she goes around kind of annoying all the people who come in, and she ends up annoying Murtagh. And basically what happens is Murtagh gets into a confrontation with these men and kills them all with a spork. Anger management! So part 2 actually follows one of my favourite characters, Angela, from the initial inheritance cycle. Okay, and she's actually based off Paolini's sister, and she was in these chapters. A lot of her point of view is written from his sister, and she actually has acknowledgements at the end that she talks about. So basically she's come to visit Eragon to pass on her manuscript, and she's taking Elva away from Alagasia to sort of teach her how to control her emotions and how to control herself and how to use this gift that she has, or curse as she calls it, for good rather than just to use it in spite and to hurt people. So the third and final story, which was my favourite story, is actually told to Eragon by an Urgal around a campfire. Basically it's about this girl, female Urgal from thousands of years back called Ilgra, and she basically her village is tormented by a dragon named Vermund. Basically comes in, flies in, burns everything and eats people. he's a bit of a dogmate, and he just keeps eating everyone and burning everyone alive, so Ilgra ends up deciding that she needs to smite his thirsty ass. Vermund is pretty cool, and probably my favourite character, mostly because all he does is nap and eat. When you think of that Snickers ad, when they say, "You're not you when you're hungry," that is Vermund to a T, okay? All he needs is food, and once he's food, he's eaten, he's happy. That's all he needs. Just give him a Snickers bar. Come on. The story is a great throwback to many elements of the series that I really enjoy. It's a throwback to the magic system, the Razak and their steed, and it's a great exploration of Urgol culture, which we didn't get to see much of in the Inheritance cycle. I think that's one of the things that this novella actually does really effectively. Adds to the story of the Inheritance cycle, it adds to the world building of the Inheritance cycle, and it really adds to the character development of certain characters. It doesn't do the same thing that J.K. Rowling does often on Pottermore, which is that she sort of just says things that were happening during the Harry Potter series that were not evident in the books, or things about characters which don't make sense or don't add up. Kind of like claiming certain, how do you put it? It's more like claiming brownie points for certain aspects of characters which were never true. Whereas Paolini, I think he's done it effectively because he actually doesn't change any of the things that happen in his cycle. He's kept that, but now what he's doing is he's adding to the end of the cycle. So things that are happening from the epilogue onwards, which is a lot more effective, I think, because now we're getting new character development for these characters. We're getting new characters entirely, like Ilgra, which we didn't get in the original series. And with those characters comes a whole new perspective, which is what's really enjoyable to read. I don't want to read about the same thing over and over and over again. I would love to go back to the world of Allegasia, but have a whole new story. Look, I can say all these things and give it 3 stars out of 5, but at the end of the day is, if book 5 came out tomorrow, I would be inhaling that. Okay? I just need to know, will Arya ever love Aragorn back? That's all I need to know. Thanks for listening, guys. Even if this was less of a review and more of a rant that will make absolutely no sense to anyone except people who have read the entire series. I think it's time for me to write a scathing review on Goodreads. 5 stars. Oh my god, Saphira is a queen, and she'll still got it. Kisses, kisses, hugs, hugs. Perfect.